I was asked by someone how I make my thumbnails, and they were kind of curious about learning how to make thumbnails properly. Um, and I think it's very good knowledge to have to be able to do this yourself. And it's just it's uh, it's great to be well versed in having all this this knowledge to be able to do this yourself. And it's not that difficult to do yourself. So, okay, so what you're gonna do, you're gonna go into your search bar, type in Gimp, a nice little Google search. You're gonna go to the one that says gimp.org, and then you're gonna go to download, and then you can download it with a torrent program, or you can download it directly. And it has one for Linux, one for Macintosh, and Windows, obviously. So download that, install it, and then here is Gimp. And for the purposes of this, I'm going to open another file. And I had one particularly for this video, sample for YouTube tutorial. All right. So we want to outline this guy here. Give him a nice colored outline. And you can use whatever color you want, it doesn't matter. But the first step to doing this is you want to go to Layer, Transparency, Add Alpha Channel. And you're going to want to do that, whenever you're wanting to outline anything, you have to do that first. Or you could really do it, I guess, technically at any point, but it's best to do it at the beginning. All right, so we're going to outline this guy. And what you want to do is go to this little tool right here called the Free Select tool. But first, you probably want to zoom in some. So we go to the Free Select tool. And you just start left clicking. And then you're just going to outline the object. Maybe a little monotonous, but this is pretty much how you make thumbnails, so. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of got to get it somewhat close. And if you ever make a mistake, you just hit backspace. You go around the entire object with this free select tool, sometimes called the lasso tool. So if you ever hear lasso tool, that's what people are talking about. And that's it, free drawing again. Okay, so an important thing to note here, if you ever want to zoom out / zoom in, do not select this if you are in the process of selecting with the free select tool. Do not select the zoom tool. You go down here, down to the bottom, and you just do that. Because you can zoom out, you can zoom in with this. Because if you select this, it will break this apart and you cannot undo it. So I still got to zoom in a little bit, and so I know I'm doing it right here. Okay, that's fine. So you have to go outside the object, bring it back this way, and then connect it at your beginning point. And then once you've done that, it's kind of a little off. Let me actually backspace. More like right there. All right, hit enter. Okay, now your object is selected. Okay, so now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to duplicate the layer. Okay. Now you're going to go down to the bottom layer, this one right here. And you are going to click on the object. You're going to go to select, or right click on the object, go to select. And you're going to go to the one that says invert, or you could, I guess, just technically can hit Control plus I. I'm not really using shortcuts though. And you want to hit invert. And then you go to the eraser tool. And for the purposes of this, I'm going to make this to where this top layer is, you can't see it. To show you what happens, I'm erasing the background for the second layer, not the first layer. This is why you duplicate it. And technically, I still have more. I have to zoom out to see it. Okay. So we'll zoom back in. Now this layer is the second layer, and it's just this part of the object, or this object outside of the picture. It's just by itself as its own layer. Okay. So now you're going to right click and you're going to invert it a second time to bring it back to normal. And then you are going to go back to select and you're going to go to grow, which is, it does what it says. It enlarges what your selection is. So you're going to grow it by, I like about 8 to 10 or something like that. So 10 pixels. Okay. So now you are going to make a new layer. So you can just duplicate the layer, doesn't matter. Now the bottom layer is going to be where you go to the paint tool and you're going to flood this white. This layer down here, if I take this layer away, it's just a white outline. That's all it is. Then you put this layer back on top. Now you have your white outline. And now you say, oh no, where'd it go? When I allowed the top layer to come back. Well, now what you're going to do is you're going to go to the erase tool. With this still selected on the top layer. With the top layer selected, you're just going to erase. And now it is. Now the outline is there. But there was one thing I needed to do real quick before I actually allow that to take place. I'm going to unshrink this if it's possible. Let's see, so I'll go to select and then, or I'm going to ungrow this. I mean, we're going to shrink this by 10. Only problem with that is it messes up down here. I think I'm going to have to go back. But I just showed you how to do the outline. I'm going to undo the grow. And now I'm going to show you how to do another effect called the Gaussian Blur. Okay, so in this instance, we're at the top layer. We've got our cutout of our guy on the second layer. And we are going to right-click on this guy. Doesn't really matter what layer you're on right now, but select and then go to invert. Okay. And then you're going to right-click again. You're going to go to filters. And we are going to go to blur and then Gaussian blur. And you can mess around with these all you want. Split view shows you, is going to show you the difference between adding a blur effect And you don't want to go crazy with it. Maybe like 5 or 6 or something. But you got the blur. You got this. Um, the left is where the blur's been added. The right is the old, is the way it used to look. Okay. So we're gonna add this blur. And now your character is the focus of the image. And everything else is, the background is out of focus. So it should draw attention to the object. And now to further draw attention to the object, we are going to outline the character. So now I have to go back to this, go to invert to revert it back to normal. And now we go back to select, we go to grow the selection by 10, duplicate the layer, go back to the bottom, and then we fill it. And then we go back up to the top and grab the eraser tool. And now we have this blur effect. And now the guy is outlined. And now we're going to go to the text tool. And this is going to be the thumbnail for the tutorial. So you'll be able to see, you know, the before and after. So it's on black, 150. It's probably, that should, well, I don't know if 150 will be fine, but we'll figure it out. So how to make YouTube I can't really see it. I got to extend it out for a second. How to make YouTube thumbnails. This is pretty, I think this might be a little too big. I might have to go for like a 125. Let me check it out. Uh, 125. Can I do a, let's see what we got. Centered. That's, huh. I might move it to go to this tool, move tool. Might move it right here. So it like, you know, it's right next to the guy, and I mean, it's not necessarily centered, but I don't know if I can get it to where it's big, and in that case, I might just go back to here and make it back to 150. So backspace until you hit 150, hit enter. I don't know. I don't know if I can do 150. It's big. And well, yeah, that's fine. And technically speaking, if I really wanted to, I could put this over the sky. And it wouldn't be a big deal. But it's fine. Right about there. Yeah, right about there. So how to make YouTube thumbnails. Okay. So what we're going to do is very similar to what we just did, except we're going to right click on the layer itself over here, the text layer that we just made. That's the text tool. You're going to right click on that, and we're going to go down to where it says alpha to selection. You click on that, and now it selects the whole layer basically. And now we're going to go to select, We're going to go to grow. And we're going to grow this by, I'm going to grow it by 6. And now you do another thing. Go to new layer, okay. And then you put this below the text layer. And then you're going to fill this. Go to the fill tool. And there you go. How to make YouTube thumbnails. And then we're going to add another one. And it's going to be outlining objects. This is really big. I might have to go smaller here. Outlining objects. I'll go smaller. I think I'll go to like 125 for this one. So outlining objects and Gaussian blurring effects. And you can mess with the blurring effects. There's different ones, but it's the same process. So how to make YouTube thumbnails and outlining objects and blurring effects. Okay. And then you just do the same thing. You go to alpha to selection. You can duplicate the layer, or you can just make a new layer. I don't think it really matters. Make sure it's below your text layer. Go to select, go to grow. Grow the selection. Make sure you've got the correct layer selected. The bucket fill tool. And here's one last thing to show you. If you want to move around, make sure you have separate layers for your stuff, because it's just important to do that. All right. So say you want to move this one around. You don't want to go, obviously it's also a good idea to save your project. I'm not doing this for this. Well, I'm going to export it, but here's what you do if you want to move stuff around like this that has 2 layers. You have the view button, and right next to the view button is this thing where you can link layers. So you left click on this and you have this little chain link. So that means that these 2 layers are now linked, which means if you go to the move tool, you can now move this around. So I can zoom out. And now this is kind of centered. And now I can unselect them. And then I can do the same thing for this. I can move this around. Well, I gotta undo that, because I didn't link them, but I didn't select it down here in the layer selection. That's why that happened. So now I can move this around and kind of put this down, or I can put this about right there. But one more thing before I forget. You do have to go down here, and if you want to save the picture, saving does not do that. Saving is just referencing the project. You have to go to export, and then you save it as whatever. So sample for YouTube tutorial finished. Export. Export. Okay, so now it is exported. So that is how you make YouTube thumbnails, how you outline objects, and you can also get this nice nice blurring effect if you want. And if you enjoyed that, make sure to subscribe and like the video and share the video to people who might need this tutorial, because really, I don't want to be the only one to get something out of this. I would really like for other people to be able to have this skill set and just help everyone succeed. I learned this kind of stuff from watching many different videos. They didn't all have, you know, these things in one video. And I think it's important to know how to do both of these things, because the blurring effect, the blurring effects are very valuable because it draws attention to one center object. Whereas if you don't have that blurring effect, the only thing you have is the outline. The outlines are good, but I think the blurring effect helps as well. If you have it on, it just helps a lot more to fade out the background and focus on the one object. If this helped, definitely subscribe and like. And I have plenty of original content that I'm going to be coming out with. And thanks for watching.